everyone, it's Sharada from Payorwait, and today I'm going to be reviewing Insidious, The Red Door, which is currently playing in theaters. This film is directed by Patrick Wilson and it stars Ty Simpkins, Patrick Wilson, as we revisit with the Lambert family, who must travel deeper into the further than they've ever gone before in order to put demons to rest once and for all. So for those of you who are new to my channel, welcome, hello, so glad you came, I hope you stay. I'll tell you what I liked about the film, what I didn't like about the film, and should you pay your way to see Insidious, The Red Door in theaters? Now, going into what did I actually enjoy about this fifth installment into the Insidious franchise? It was nice to kind of revisit with the Lambert family again, like, hey y'all, can we get like a where are they now? Like after your dad Josh was like possessed, how's everything going after your dad tried to kill the whole family? And I have to say, we find the Lambert family kind of fractured at this point in time. And actually one of the most compelling parts of this story that I have to say is kind of that fractured relationship between Josh and Dalton. It's the heart of the entire story. Some of the best emotional beats come from, especially with Josh's character, who is a character that's trying to break generational curses from someone who didn't have their father in their lives, and now he's become almost an absent father with his own children. It's kind of nice to see it unfold of how this fractured relationship came to be. This was once the dad that like went into the further to save his son, and now they barely speak to one another. And I really think it's that father and son dynamic that really grounds the entire film, mainly due to Patrick Wilson's performance. I will have to say that Patrick was given some scenes, okay? He said, don't worry about these little DC checks I'm getting, honey. Let me remind you that I can still act. There's a beautiful scene that happens with Patrick and Ty's characters. And there's just this scene where it's this close-up on Josh's face as he's walking out. And you feel all of these emotions just from looking at his face. It's like I literally wanted to cry because I felt the emotion coming through the screen. You really felt what it felt like, the hurt that his character had. And I thought that Patrick did a fantastic job. Another scene that everyone's going to talk about is the MRI scene. And this really is kudos to Patrick Wilson as a director. This film is his directorial debut, and I think that one of the things that Patrick gets right in this film is how when you're dealing with horror films, it's kind of like quick jump scares. It's like they make it eerie, and then you immediately know what's going to happen. The jump scare is going to happen, but I like that with Patrick's direction in this film, the scenes last longer. It's almost lasting so long that you kind of forget that there's a jump scare coming, and they really want you to sit in the horror of how normal day-to-day tasks can be scary. And there's an MRI scene that a lot of people are going to talk about, and it's from someone who has had an MRI and someone who's known people who've had MRIs. It is a very like scary situation if you're claustrophobic, if you hate loud noises, and the way that they handled this scene with Patrick's direction, even with his acting, as he's getting this procedure done, trying to figure out what's going on with him, and the absolute terror of how that could be in real life. But once you add that element of who Josh's character is, it makes it that more scarier. And I think that he does a really great job of lingering too long, but lingering long enough where it still has a great payoff at the same time. So I do want to give him a shout out for his direction because I thought that he did a very excellent job. As someone who was acting with the first two Insidious films, you can really tell how his exposure to James Wan, to Lee Whannell, you can really see their influence on Patrick as a director and how he just truly understands the horror genre. So I wanted to give him kudos to that. Also, too, Patrick is singing, y'all. He sung the end credits song, which I thought was a really great song. He sounded really nice, and if you kind of listen to the words, it really delves deep into kind of what the emotional undertone of The Red Door was. So yeah, I think that because of Patrick Wilson's character, Josh, he does a very great job of grounding the film. Now, that's not to say that Ty Simpkins doesn't do a fantastic job as Dalton. You know, he kind of grows up to be the kid that you would think after being in a coma, you know, having your father possessed and then having your memory wiped away. I think he pretty much in a great way exemplifies who you think that Dalton would actually be. And as you get to learn more about the dynamic between Dalton and his father, Josh, you kind of understand how they've gotten into the situation that you find them at the beginning of the film. I think that Ty does great on his own. This is his story. I know that Josh is a part of that story, but it's really Dalton's is at the forefront of the story as he goes away to college. And Dalton actually gets a fun new friend by the name of Chris, who's played by Sinclair Daniel, who was absolutely fantastic. Everyone is so moody in this film. You got the daddy and the father like beefing. It's a fractured family thing. It's just giving like depressing, honey. I know it's a horror movie, but can we get a little jazz, get a little upbeat? Like give me a little 1-2 comedy punch, okay? And I will say Sinclair does a really great job with her character Chris, who becomes a new friend for Dalton at college. I think that she just breathes fresh air into the film. You know, at times where it can drag on a lot due to some pacing issues, when her character's on screen, there's this energy that Sinclair radiates through her character, Chris, that makes you want to watch her. Now, will I say, as I get into the cons, did Chris have that much to do? No, but we're going to get to that in the issues that I have with the film. But she was fun to watch. So much that you actually wanted them to give her more to do overall. Now, that's pretty much all I got to say about the good things about this film. Let's get into the issues, honey, because the issues are glaring for Insidious, The Red Door. Now, I'm going to be clear with you guys. This is not a terrible movie, all right? But this is very much like a middle of the road, like should have went to streaming, did not need to go to theaters, do not pass go and collect $200. It was that type of film. And honestly, I think the main route where this film falls apart is from its screenplay. Now, Leigh Whannell has been responsible, created like this story, these characters that this franchise has built 5 films on, but this is the first time that Leigh wasn't in charge of actually writing the screenplay. Now, Leigh came up with the screenplay with Scott Teems, but Scott Teems was the writer for Insidious, The Red Door. I should have known that he was going to lead us astray after he was responsible for writing Halloween Kills, but it's the story that literally makes this movie fall apart and honestly makes it the least memorable installment of the Insidious franchise. And I know what y'all thinking. Sharonda, how? Why? But just hear me out, all right? From a writing standpoint, you've been building up. You've already had 2 films with the Lambert family. And kind of when we find ourselves where they're at now, you feel like you're missing, like, this takes place 10 years later, and they do nothing to fill in the gaps of what has happened over the past 10 years since they're both, Josh and Dalton's memories were wiped. And honestly, this is something that I'm seeing with sequels in general of franchise films. I don't know if it's because there's so much time that has went by. I don't know if they can't get people to sign on for more films. But after watching Insidious, The Red Door, I truly believe that there is another film that needed to happen before The Red Door could actually take place. I think that one of the strongest parts of this movie is when you focus on how do you get back right as a family unit when the patriarch of that family literally tried to kill all of you, was possessed, and tried to kill his entire family. Even though you know that he's better, you can't forget the crimes that his body committed, even though it was possessed by someone else. And I think that as you kind of get into the dynamic of what has happened with Renee and Josh and how her character might not have been able to get over these things, I think that that's an excellent movie to explore of how does a family heal after possession happens? How does it heal after this person that you love and care about was literally like trying to kill you? And I think that if we actually could have had a film that focused on how does the Lambert family get back on track, that's a movie that I actually would have loved to watch, that would have had a great story. Kind of how, even though people give The Last Key so much flack, it was probably had one of the best storylines out of the entire franchise of how Elise's background with her childhood and how she grew up kind of led into this whole new haunting and possession that took place. I feel like there is something that could have been great if they would have focused on the family dynamic of the Lamberts. However, even though we bring back the Lambert family, we barely get to spend time with Dalton's brother. We barely get to spend any time with Renee, almost making you feel like, well, why did we need to even come back and revisit the Lamberts if we weren't going to actually develop the entire family? Because all of the they all had something to do in Insidious and Insidious 2. Now, also, too, from a writing standpoint, there has to be some type of lore. As we learn more and more about the further over the course of these 5 films, you're getting, this is the climax, this is the grand finale, this is the Insidious endgame of the entire franchise. They're saying that this is the last film. And as we understand the significance of what the Red Door has had over the course of 5 films, you would think that there would be some type of lore. There's more backstory into this red demon that literally gave one of the greatest jump scares, one of the best jump scares we've seen in horror films present day. But there's nothing. I was just like, so y'all had my man just popping up every movie for no reason. There's no third battle. I'm not gonna see him like fight it out with Dalton and Josh. Like I'm not gonna get no punches. We not gonna get in the ring. Like, come on, y'all. Really sit and think about this. This fool has literally been haunting them, okay? Since Josh was a child, okay? Since put Dalton in a coma, and you mean to tell me that y'all been hyping up this demon for 5 movies and you not gonna do nothing big? There is no grand finale. There is no big third act that takes place with the demon? Yeah, have that make sense for me. Where is the story? You've literally been building up to this character in all films, and it was the most anticlimactic thing that happened as we get into the third act of The Red Door, which it made no sense. And it almost made you feel like, well, what the hell have we been focusing on The Red Door this whole time? Like, that's it? That's all that happened? Like, you could have put me in. I would have took care of this. Like, I felt like the hype was for nothing. Like, it just felt very anticlimactic, felt very let down. And honestly, for this to be the end, there's other people that pop up. I'm not going to spoil anything, but how they pop up and their use of these characters, I was like, to be honest, y'all, you could have just kept going with the prequels and I would have been satisfied. But after seeing how this story plays out, how all of this ends, how it's kind of buttoned up as we get into the final act of the film, it kind of just left a bad taste in your mouth. Like, I don't hate this movie. I definitely don't love this movie. And honestly, I don't even know if I would remember this movie after watching it. And that really sucks because I had such a fun time rewatching the previous Insidious films before going to see The Red Door. And to be honest with you, it felt like a letdown. And it was a letdown because you have such a great caliber of talent with Patrick Wilson, who I think did a really fantastic job for his directorial debut and really gave some of the most raw emotional scenes from his character Josh that I've seen out of the entire series. And it's just a shame that you have this amazing cast and we didn't utilize some of the heavy hitters that you have in this franchise. And I just really felt like if Lee couldn't be a part of the writing process for the screenplay, then we should have just waited until Lee was available to do what needed to be done. Because, honey, this was not giving whatsoever. So what I would tell you to do with you and your coins, what I would tell you to do for Insidious, The Red Door, unfortunately, I'm going to have to say it's a wait. It's a wait. I don't think it's a terrible movie. I think if you're a fan, you could still go and see it. You'd be like, oh, okay, it's cool. I watched the last one. Like, okay, it's the end. It's done. But there's nothing memorable about it. And it feels like a waste of the talent that's involved. And honestly, if it just had a better screenplay, I really think that it would have elevated the film so much more. Is it scary? It has its moments. Is it like scary? Like, was I jumping in the theater? No. But it was fine. It's cute. It's giving beautiful gowns, okay? Pretty faces, beautiful gowns, okay? So let me know in the comment section below, what did you think of Insidious, The Red Door? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you feel like it was a worthy conclusion to the franchise? Let me know in the comment section below. And also, too, let's fight a little bit. Let's choose violence. Give me your ranking to the Insidious film in the comment section below. Let's debate in the comment section, but keep it cute, okay? So those are my thoughts on Insidious, The Red Door. As always, my name is Sharonda from payorwait. And if you like what you saw today, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this video with your friends, and make sure you hit that notification bell. And I love you guys 3000. And until I see you again, bye.